Who is the best Pokemon Go player? Is not a question I've really heard people talking about. After 3 completed seasons of official tournament play, I think it's about time to really determine who is the best Pokemon player. But just thinking about it begs the question, what makes you the best Pokemon player? Pokemon Go PvP has more than play Pokemon tournaments, community organized tournaments like the Silpharina or Battle Frontier, and possibly more importantly, Go Battle League. But how much each of these parts of Pokemon Go PvP add to how good a specific player is might be tough. And as much as I enjoy participating in community organized events, since there is a decent number of players who may not know of these tournaments, I think it's best to focus on official means of competing, that is, the Pokemon Go Championship Series and the Go Battle League leaderboard. So how do we actually find who the best player is? Well, we have all of the results of every Play Pokemon tournament, and we have the rankings for every season of the Go Battle League. So now we have to come up with some kind of way to combine the two in a way that is representative of how good a player is. Let's start with Play Pokemon. You might think the best Play Pokemon player is the one with the most tournament wins, or a world champion, but just winning a tournament doesn't automatically make you the best. I think there are actually 3 factors at play here. 1. The level of tournament. Of course, a world champion is more than likely to be better than a regional champion. 2. The size of the tournament. A player winning a 200-player tournament is likely better than a player winning a 50-player tournament. And of course, 3. Placement in the tournament. The player who won is probably better than anyone else in the tournament. You might also think the location of the tournament might matter too, but in order to win any given tournament, you will likely have to defeat around the same number of good players, making it a factor that has a much smaller impact on how good a player is. So how do each of these factors compare up against each other? Well, let's look at the point distribution. Here, I've tried to equivalize the level, size, and placement of a tournament. Getting second at a small regional is about the same as getting fourth at a medium-sized international championship, or winning 3 small regionals is about the same as becoming a world champion. These comparisons of tournament placements is not definitive, as not every tournament is the same, but for the purposes of this video, it makes it easier to compare the results of different players. Looking at the point values themselves, I've weighted ICs pretty low, since it's still early in the competitive circuit, and they don't seem too much different than slightly larger regionals, but that could change in the future. You'll also notice that Worlds is quite heavily weighted, since every competitor there is a good player, who has likely done well in at least one tournament. That means that there isn't much of a skill difference for every matchup, making it much harder to win. But just placing well at a tournament isn't the only factor that creates a good player. Consistency is also quite important. Let's say a player went to 50 different events and won 2 of them. Compare that to a player who only went to 1 event and won that event. It might be hard to compare the two with only 1 tournament of data, but winning your first tournament highlights a strong potential that that player is good. But you don't have to only win tournaments to be a good player, since even getting consistent top 8s is quite respectable. If we put this all together, we have the point distribution and consistency factor, which together create the Play Pokemon score, a combination of a sum of notable placements reinforced by a top 8 consistency. But Play Pokemon isn't the only part of Pokemon Go PvP, because the Go Battle League might be just as important. Go Battle League was first introduced to Pokemon Go on January 29, 2020, with the Go Battle League leaderboard starting a few months later on April 10th, during the middle of Season 1. With 22 seasons of Go Battle League and 19 completed seasons of GBL leaderboards, there is quite a lot of data to consider. Do we count Season 5's data, where there was no in-game rating? What about early seasons, where there were many players who weren't playing GBL? How do you even compute who is better? Do you include peak rank? Final rank? Days on leaderboard? Well, I think there are a few factors that contribute to a player's GBL performance. Average peak rank, average final rank, and number of seasons on the leaderboard. Peak rank is important since it shows that a player is able to reach the top, even if just for a specific cup or league. Average final rank is of course important since it demonstrates constant climbing and playing at a high level for a large portion of a season, choosing to go past just hitting legend rank. The number of seasons on the leaderboard strengthens the consistency of a player, showing that they didn't just get lucky to be on the leaderboards for one season, and rather shows that a player is skilled in various cups and metas depending on the season. But choosing which Go Battle League seasons to take these data points from isn't as clear. Seasons 1 to 4 had its highest rank of 10, Season 5 didn't have a rating system, and Season 6 onwards had the highest rank changed to Legend. So instead of pulling data from every season, only data from Season 9 and onwards would be considered. Why Season 9? Season 9 was the first season that had an extra motive to reach Legend rank, as players who did would have priority registration for Play Pokémon tournaments. Although the system didn't follow through for much longer after, it still sparked some players to start pushing to be on the leaderboards. Since then, the leaderboards have been consistently competitive. Season 9 is a good middle ground to not deficit players who hadn't been playing much during early seasons, and it avoids the shift in the rank system introduced in Season 6. Putting this together, we take the average peak rank from all seasons with leaderboard data, Seasons 9 and onwards, and the average final rank, Season 9 and onwards. We disregard seasons with no data, then factor in the number of seasons on the leaderboards, and we get the GBL score. Since GBL is more simplified and has little downside to using simpler strategies, the Play Pokémon score will be slightly favored when combined together for the total score. Speaking of which, if we want to statistically determine the best Pokémon GO player, we can combine both the Play Pokémon and GBL scores to find the player who is overall the best at both major parts of Pokémon GO PvP. So, who is the best then? It's actually not that close, and he probably needs no introduction. The 2023 World Champion, it's Axon. With 6 regional top 8s including 1 win, an international championship win, a top 8 at Worlds 2022, 2023 World Champion, average peak GBL rank of 9.4, and average final rank of 171 across 11 seasons. As the best performing Play Pokémon player and one of the best performing GBL players, it's quite clear who is the best, and it isn't even close. Anyways, if you want to explore the score sheet, I've linked it in the description. I've only included players with at least one top 8 at any Play Pokémon tournament, since I was mostly interested in seeing who would be at the very top. And if you think my methods aren't quite accurate, or maybe someone else is a contender to be the best, feel free to let me know. That's all. Bye.